Welcome to our second episode of the Small Business Chronicles for Candid Conversation. I am your host for the show, Rudy Sutherland, and I am a serial entrepreneur by occupation and a small business advocate by passion. Today, we have with us Mr. Al Spinks. He is the president and CEO of ASA Presents. Now, before I go into the background information on both Mr. Spinks and his company, what I want to do is confirm that he is here and let him say hello to you folks. Al, are you there?
Yeah, hey Rudy, I'm here, and I'd like to say hello to your audience.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, Al, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm excited because, you know, as most of these folks probably don't know, I've known you for quite a while, and I know what you bring to the table for smalls, and am hoping that this show is going to do a lot more to expose that value proposition to the many smalls that are not aware of the type of services that you provide. Because generally, what you do for smalls is provide a service that's usually only available to corporate executives. So this is going to be, I think, really valuable to our audience. But first of all, let me take a deep dive into who Al Spinks is. Al Spinks is a leader and expert in small business in general. He's a retired entrepreneur. He's a military veteran, and he's got 4 decades of experience with the U.S. Marine Corps as a submariner. I won't hold that against him because I'm an Army guy, but that said, he's also an author, a mentor, a life coach, and as I stated, he's a very successful entrepreneur who is, I would call, semi-retired. I don't think we ever really retire, so I'm going to call, although he might say he's retired, I'm going to call him semi-retired. Al, what I want to do is take this opportunity to give you the opportunity to give a brief summary of exactly what your company does in general and what you do for smalls.
Well, hey Rudy, I appreciate the opportunity. What I do and what my company does is we help people accomplish their goals and get the most out of life, while also teaching them how to deal with stress in a non-destructive manner. Simply said, that's what we do. I use my experience that I gained in running my own information technology company for 25 years. And this company was highlighted by Inc. magazine in their Inc. 500 list as one of the 500 fastest growing privately held corporations in America. I used my experience as a Marine. I used my experience as a naval aviator as well as a submariner. I was enlisted in the Navy and took a commission in the Marines. I used my experience working with IBM and marketing mainframe computers. I bring all this experience to bear to help entrepreneurs grow their business, but also enjoy life at the same time.
Well, you know what, and that's quite a bit, but let me add even further context, Al. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you were in business, you were actually a government contractor, yes?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I know that you were a government contractor, and again, I think that this is deep context for my audience, because the lion's share of the folks that I am affiliated with are government contractors, and so tell us a little bit about the depth of your experience. I think it was NASA. You worked with NASA and perhaps some other agencies. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to work with Johnson Space Center to provide integration services. On 2 different occasions, we had the opportunity to replace and upgrade all of the desktop workstations in the Mission Control Center at Johnson Space Center, as well as the Mission Operations Directorate. We also manufactured personal computers with our own logo on them for use in the Space Center. And I mean, we did that by the thousands. So my point is you have to understand the government, their contracting system, how to work with the government, and how to get in front of the right people.
So in coming up with this second incarnation of your business life, my takeaway is this is not theoretical. This is not, something that was derived from a book. This is something that derived from practical experience. You're not talking about, the hypothetical. You're talking about what actually worked for you in building such a successful business. And by the way, I want you folks to understand, to be one of Inc.'s fastest growing businesses, that's the equivalent of the lottery, because not every small business can aspire to that. I don't think you could even forecast such an acclaim being afforded you as a small business owner. But when it happens, it has to be a fantastic thing. And so again, what I want to establish before we continue forward is that Mr. Spinks brings a very high pedigree when we talk about what it is that he does now. So with that said, one of the things that you pointed out was that you help smalls, the ownership of smalls, and indeed perhaps the management teams of smalls get the best out of life as they grow their business. Now, I want to understand just how are you able to make such a claim? Because as you're well aware, in the beginning stages of a business, or even towards the mezzanine stage of growth in a small business, this is supposed to be the sacrificial lamb period, right? We're not supposed to have fun. We're supposed to be, sacrificing everything in a bag of chips for tomorrow. So how is it that you purport that we as smalls in those stages of our growth can actually enjoy that process?
Okay, that's a good question, Rudy. There's two approaches I have. If I'm working with the owner or of the business, I have one approach. If I'm working with the management team, I have another approach. Let's take the approach with the owner, okay? Most of us, when we start a business, there's something in us that causes us to start a business. Not everybody wants to take the chance to start their own business. A lot of people would rather work for others, know where their paychecks is coming from, and have a guaranteed paycheck, okay?
Right.
And as an owner, there's some weeks, months that you're not going to get paid, especially during the startup stage. So here's the difference. Here's how I help owners. I help owners to identify what is in them to pull out this requirement to have a business. You see, most of us start and work from the do, have, be mentality. Okay, let me do this so I can have that, so I can be this. Okay, and so what you're doing is you're living your life based on what other people think you should be doing, or what you think you should be doing. Now, I help people to switch that around. I work from the be, have, do mentality. First, we got to understand who and what, let's say Rudy Sutherland is, okay? What's unique about Rudy? What makes him start his business? What are his unique qualities? What are his priorities in life, okay? Once we understand these things and we create a purpose statement, or in business it would be a mission statement, but on an individual basis, we create a purpose statement. And this purpose statement says, this is what Rudy is about. Okay. Now, once we come up with that statement, everything we do, every decision we make is based off of that statement. Okay. We do things that keep us aligned with who and what we are and our values. Now, once we know that, then we create a vision. Okay. Well, what is it I want to be doing in X number of months or years? Who am I? Who will I be? Now, if I'm working with you in your business, that's the same as your vision, your mission, your vision statement for your business. The purpose statement for your business is your mission statement.
So let me ask you. So what I'm hearing you say is, generally speaking, when we come up with a mission statement for our businesses, we do it as if the business is disconnected from us. We do it with a mindset towards it being like this object this objective point of focus that that is separate from us. What you're saying we do or should do in the process of formulating the mission statement is to first internalize it so that we as the leaders of the businesses are connected to the business, have a vested tie to those fundamentals in order to ensure that who we are permeates the business. Or some am I close or where are we?
No, you're right on, because now once you create this mission statement for the business, and this mission statement reflects your values and your priorities, everybody in your organization is going to know what you're about. Because
okay. And listen, the thing is this: it's amazing that you're saying this the way you're saying it. Because if I told anybody, if you ever sat in the board, if you ever sat or sat as a fly on the wall in the process of watching someone being groomed to become a CEO of a corporation, the first thing they are being told in the transition into that office away from another person is exactly this: that in order for you to become the leader of this organization, what you're going to have to do is have your values, right, and what you represent permeate the organization in order for everyone to in order for the company to become the embodiment of that, so that you can truly lead it. Because you couldn't lead someone else's institution. In other words, if you just took the reins of a horse, you can't just the horse is going to notice that there's a difference in weight. They're going to notice that there's a difference in the rhythm in which the stirrups are being manipulated and so forth, and so that there's a smooth transition and all that good stuff. This is what you do. Now, if Al, what you're saying, that the theory, it would be a theory to me, right? Because obviously we've not done this, and I didn't do it. I can freely say I didn't do this initially. It was by osmosis that this occurred with my businesses. But what you're saying is, theoretically, if you do this from day one, the probability of your success becomes short. The probability becomes increased, and the time frame to success may become shortened as well. Yes,
Rudy, you can hold me to this statement right here. If you use this process, you cannot fail. Okay, because everything, every inch of your being and your structure is moving in the same direction. Okay, we understand, we break down the spirit, mind, body, not as three independent parts of human nature or human anatomy, or human nature, but as three inextricably intertwined entities that were created to help you accomplish your goal in life.
Okay. Now, all right. Now that alone, what we've just stated, should have gotten the juices flowing and gotten some folks excited. Now I want to transition into, okay, so what is this education process all about? I don't have a lot of time, Al. I'm working, like I told you, I'm working 50, 60 hours a week. I'm putting out fires on a daily basis. Fires that, by the way, are popping up, on a sporadic, ad hoc basis. How do I fit this in? If I want to do this, I may have the best of intentions, but just one other thing, I consider myself a very good time manager. How do I fit this in?
Well, here's the beauty. You don't have to do anything you don't have to change what you're doing, okay? The only thing that you have to do, and it's natural, is to make a slight shift in the way you think about things, okay? Instead of resisting things, learn how to embrace them and learn the lessons that your experiences are teaching you, so that you don't have to go through the same experience over and over and over again in life. Now, you don't have to stop and start a new business. We can take you from exactly where you are and work with you to move forward. I mean, because everything you've done up to this point in time is preparation for where you are now. And if you look at it right, your preparation is your story.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the way you go about I guess educating someone, in the process. Is it heavy reading? Is it really just dialogue with you? How does this work, man?
It's typical. Now, let me honestly say this. This isn't for everybody. Okay. I mean, and there's people who are going to be successful regardless if I'm with them or not. Okay. Because success is more or less determination. Okay. But my point is how I work with people is we start with a dialogue. We start with understanding the human nature, the three aspects of human nature, how they work together. Okay, we then create this, and at the same time, we're dealing with problems or issues that are coming in the business. Okay, we don't disconnect for a month or two or three just up the individual because I mean you still got to make money, you still got to run your business. Okay,
right.
In the meantime, I'm learning a little bit more about your business and who you are, and sharing with you a philosophy. I've got a C-level exec at the corporation that I work with that is slowly coming around and dealing with things in a more calm, confident, and creative manner than he did before.
Okay.
As a result, his relationships are improving. As a result, his finances are improving. As a result, his health is improving and his life is improving.
So you're saying you're able to split between the foundational generality of your approach, but also add a layer of impromptu dealing with everyday daily situations as they're occurring. So you're able to help basically create a harmony for the executive between the two. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Balance. See, what we teach is whether you like it or not, Rudy, stuff's gonna happen anyway.
That's right. That's right.
Whether if I sit here and say, Rudy, look, I'm going to introduce you to this woman, and she's going to give you the best 6 months of your life, but after that, your life's going to turn to pure hell. Most of us would not agree to those circumstances. So
right.
What we have to understand is life doesn't ask our permission.
Well, you know what? Okay, so here we talked a little bit about one of the things that you purport to do is to help small business executives and entrepreneurs deal with stress in a non-destructive manner. And that kind of speaks to what you're saying here. So talk a little bit about that. The stress pattern, because again, just for deeper context, stress management. I mean, people with jobs have stress, and we hear about those type of folks jumping out of windows sometimes. God only knows what we would do given that our stress levels, arguably, and I'm not trying to denigrate folks who hold jobs, but I do want to say that having been on both sides of that fence, what we do is a lot more stressful, or can be a lot not more stressful at times. How do you help us to learn to manage that function?
First, I teach individuals that whatever happens is going to be all right. Okay? I teach them to understand the function. Let's talk about spirit, mind, and body for a second. Okay?
All right. Okay.
The function and purpose of spirit is to guide us towards our goals and ultimate life's purpose. It's very impersonal, but it's very empathetic. No matter how many times we fail or don't do what spirit guides us to do, it will always tell us, okay? As a matter of fact, before you think I'm getting a little preachy, the secular world has now come to the determination, I'm talking about psychologists and scientists, that say that there is an immaterial realm outside of the human that provides us insight and knowledge that are not knowable through human reasoning and intellect. It's these aha moments that we get, and they call that the spiritual realm. As a matter of fact, they've created courses, they've created courses of study in higher level in universities that's called transpersonal psychology, which means outside of the person, knowledge coming from outside of the person that he or she wouldn't have known. Now, that's the purpose of spirit. Our mind, the function of our mind is to help and protect us by giving us the ability to figure things out and to giving us the ability to reason and figure things out for ourselves, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now,
Okay.
we know mind's a trip. It's a battleground.
Right.
And it's a great tool for helping us find shelter, figuring out how to make money last to the end of the month, and other fundamental things. But when we get outside of that realm, the mind is not to be trusted explicitly. The reason is that the mind is home to our thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm. Subjective.
Pardon me?
It's a subject. It's by its very nature, it's a subjective realm. So
Right.
the objectivity is not there, and certainly the external factors that can influence. But so I'm tracking. I'm tracking.
So the point I'm making is, if you're like me, you know that every thought that enters into your mind, you don't want people to know, nor are they worthwhile.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But
and Al, I call that noise.
yeah, well, that's true. But you see, there's a conscious and a subconscious mind. The subconscious mind accepts whatever is presented to it. It just accepts. So our conscious mind really does not start to take hold until we're about 12, 13 years old. But anything, our belief system, our beliefs, our thoughts are home, our mind is home to our thoughts. And our thoughts create our beliefs, because a belief is nothing more than a thought that's been repeated over and over and over again until it becomes foundational.
Right. I got you.
So when you were 3 years old and something happened to you and you use a 3-year-old's mentality and says, ooh, if I do this, I'm going to get spanked. Okay, that's part of your belief system. Or so those belief systems continue to follow us throughout life. Some of those work for us, some of them don't. So we have to be but our belief systems influence how we experience life.
Well, I mean, but what about decontamination based on that? I mean, I learned a lot of things as a kid, and indeed, I learned a lot of things from my very own parents that once I became an adult, and particularly once I started experiencing life myself, I called into question many of those assumptions about life, or many of those things that I took for face value, as you stated, at a young age, that became part of my subconscious. I went through what I call a decontamination, or a what do you call that when you sterilize, or sterilization process,
detoxify, or
detox. I mean, it's like W.E.B. Du Bois wrote the miseducation of black folks, that type of thing. It's like we're all miseducated, even though people teach you with the best of intentions as you go through life. Nevertheless, some of that is some of that is fallacy, some of it is just flat out wrong, whatever the case may be. And so it's part of the process of becoming a healthy executive, right? Mentally, spiritually, and so forth. Is part of that a period of decontamination, using my vernacular, or would you say, is that part of the process, or is that just is that something you assume that is going to take place? I mean, is that an active part of what you do to help a person decontaminate, and get all that noise, as I stated, out of their way, so that they can think and function clearly, or is it just something that's assumed as a passive part of what you do?
No, it's an active part, okay? Because let's say, for instance, in creating your vision, after that, we're going to create some goals, okay? And these goals are based on who and what you are. And we're going to put some, smart, measurable, achievable, reasonable and timely guidelines to it. So now, when it comes time to create these goals and to implement them, typically you'll find people say, I can't do this, or I don't want to do that, or, I'm unable, And so since these goals aren't my goals, but the goals come from within you, we know they're achievable. Okay.
Gotcha.
So what emotional block or limiting belief is keeping you from doing what you were created to do? And that's where we find these issues coming up.
Got it.
And
Got
so
it.
once we find them, I have the ability. I have some tools that I can use to eliminate them. I could give you a number of examples of people I've worked with that had this block, and we identified it. And typically, it's an emotion. Typically, it's based on something that happened to them previously in life that's gone subconscious on them. Okay,
Okay.
so it happens, and they don't know. I can say this real quickly. Any area of life that you find not working, it's probably got something attached to it, okay, that we can work on, a limiting belief or an emotional block that we can work on.
Okay, so all right, I'm gonna just say this. My takeaway is this: basically, what Al is talking about doing is helping you as an executive turbocharge your business by elevating your own mental consciousness and tying it to your business model. It's as simple as that. Now, one of the things I do want to do before we run out of time is talk about the fact that not only has Al taken the time to formulate this strategy and this approach, he's also put it in writing, and he's written about a whole lot more in detail of what we can't go into here. But Al, I want you to tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become a writer, to put this down, and in particular, my favorite book of yours, which is the 3 R's. Tell us about that.
Okay, let me just give you a real short synopsis. I went through a lot of the growth pains of growing my business. And Rudy, I got so stretched out and tensed up that I felt honestly I was on my last nerve and that was going to snap, okay? But before it did, I had the good sense to take some time off and try to understand what's the difference between success and failure. And I finally found out that they're two sides of the same coin. And it really is important how you look at it. From my path took me along a path to understand the spiritual side of it, because once I understood the spiritual side, the physical side just kind of fell into place. Okay. And when I say spiritual side, I'm not religious based. I'm just saying some things that happen in a spiritual realm, a non-material realm that we have access to, that will talk to us and teach us if we sit down, be quiet, and ask and listen. Okay.
So hold on, let me clarify something. Again, we're not talking religion here. We're not getting into the silos of all the various theologies. What we're talking about is spirituality on its own merits. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now tell us about the books.
Okay.
And then I want you to, because I want to make sure we give everybody all the information we can about what it is that you have, how to contact you, where your website is, and then some of the services that. So I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay. My first book is called The 3 R's of Spiritual Growth. The 3 R's stand for recognition, reconciliation, and reconnection. And I use this as a framework for just about everything I do. In every circumstance or situation, we have to recognize the forces at work. Okay. We have to recognize what we have available to us and what our goal is. The second step is to reconcile or to create a close working relationship with these forces and these goals to get them all moving in the same direction. And so that's creating a plan. The third step is to reconnect and take this plan and reconnect back into what I call every nook, cranny, circumstance, and situation in our life. So that's where the 3 R's of spiritual growth, that's how that kind of came about. What we do and what I do is I mentor people. I provide business coaching. I'm a member of a group called the Silver Foxes, and it's a number of senior executives, C-level corporate execs, entrepreneurs, and visionaries whose whole mission in life is to help and mentor small and medium-sized businesses. Okay. Now, what was the second question? My services. We provide workshops, seminars, and as well as an ongoing mentoring opportunity. I work with individuals for a monthly fee. I meet with them on a weekly basis, and we create a guideline and a framework in order to help them grow their business or attain their goals.
Okay.
My website is www.asapresents.com. ASA Presents. And that will give you information on how to contact me. You can contact me via telephone at 281-874-8826 or via email at al@asapresents.com.
Okay, and just so for everybody to know out there, all of what he just said is going to be published on the Candid Conversation site underneath this video when it's published. So if you didn't get all of that, don't worry about it. We're going to make sure that you do. And so, Al, listen, I want to first, again, thank you for taking the time out to explain to my audience what it is that you do and the value that you and your company can bring to them if they were to engage you. And I want to implore anyone listening to this video to give serious contemplation to the one question: if you are considering yourself an 8-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, or a 4, are you hitting on all cylinders? Mm-hmm. And if you're not, are you able to therefore give your very best to the business that you are trying to get off the ground? And I would tell you this: if you're not hitting on all cylinders, if you don't have a tune-up if you're not getting tuned up on a regular basis, you're not going to be able to grow your business. You may be able to experience success, and you may be able to do it with or without any of this. But that said, the goal in all of this is to do it as quickly and as painlessly as possible. Success is a fleeting idea. And the last thing you want to have happen is it fleet when you don't even know that it's happening. Because then at that point, all you're doing is spinning your wheels. So I really want you guys to consider at least engaging Al on his capability and seeing if there's a fit between what he does and what you're trying to do. Okay, my brother, listen, it's a pleasure having you on the show. And I hope we can do it again. And so
we will.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna hold you to that. So without saying anything more, I want you guys to make sure you have a productive day, productive week, and we'll see you next time on Candid Conversation, the Small Business Chronicles. Take care.